Hi, I'm Jan Roper, and I am the composer of The Path to Catherine. And if you want to know more about this musical, please listen to this interview. I love the theater, but I will tell you that I'm kind of a late bloomer in terms of the theater. I did theater all in high school and all that, but then I endeavored to be to build a career more in the music industry and pursued and record deals as an artist kind of person in my 20s, did a lot of showcasing all in LA as a singer performer. Um, Kind of used my piano playing and songwriting more as a side thing. And and then I had children kind of earlier than I expected it to. And that kind of just, shifted my focus a little bit. But at one point I got hired as a full-time music director at a big mega church, and this church really supported the arts and actually commissioned me to write along with the co-writer, write a big passion play musical kind of thing. So we wrote this kind of rock opera called Jerusalem AD, and we produced it at the church. They threw a ton of money into it. We did it for 4 years, from 2002 to 2006, five years actually. Sold out 30 performances every year around Easter, and it was kind of when that's how I got the bit by the bug. I realized that this just lit me on fire. I loved writing in this kind of way. And so from there, I took a course at New Musicals Inc., same place where Patricia has been involved. It's an organization that shepherds young new writers and helps teams, collaborative teams, come together and helps them, just basically gives them the tools they need to write musicals and get dramaturgy from some really, really perceptive, smart people over there. And that's kind of where I got all my tools to kind of know how to write more. And so I've written since Jerusalem AD, I've written 3 full-length musicals that have all, including The Path to Catherine, that have gotten to a certain level of development. And here we are today. So I'm a late bloomer. And then I will also say that in the meantime too, in the last 15 years, I've been music directing in the theater world very consistently, like probably 4 to 8 shows a year, music directing kind of all over town. And I've gotten awards for it, and have some of my shows outside of the city produced and so forth. So anyway, it's been a long journey to get to where I am today. Why I love writing for the theater. Well, I have always been a songwriter as well, but I find that it's like anything goes when it comes to the theater. And I guess that's what I love, is that there's as far as the complexity of harmony, any potential style I want to use. You're not as boxed in with theater work. You can really kind of take a song in any direction you want to, where writing in the pop world is a little more, it's just a little more limited to me. And I love that I could kind of use all my skills in terms of harmony possibilities, and also be so much more melody driven, which is really important to me too. The other thing is, I've loved the challenge of working with lyricists that just hand me a finished lyric, of a scene, and I got to figure it out. At first it was petrifying. It's still a little petrifying every time I get a new lyric. Like, can I do this? I don't know. And then I just kind of keep at it, and something always emerges. I just think that there's more complexity in theater that is the challenge of that is really gratifying and satisfying. So that's why I love to write for the theater. Jerusalem AD, my first show was like that too. So I had done that before, but it is a larger, you're biting off a much bigger challenge to do something like that. When it's just songs inside scenes connected by lots of dialogue, I don't know, everything's challenging, but I'm having to kind of musicalize everything. And this was way more complex than Jerusalem AD too. It was a big, I'll tell you the truth. I feel like I knew it was going to be a challenge. I had no idea what a challenge it really was. And if I had known, maybe I would have, chickened out and said, let's just write it as a standard musical. But, we kind of came up with this idea together, Patricia and I, to turn this into more of like a rock opera. And it was, there were moments where we just thought, oh, just make this a scene. And then we thought, no, it's, we've come this far. It's all music wall to wall now. Why stop now? It's been so gratifying that we stuck to our guns about it. I'm really proud of how it's come out. The theater experience is unique because you are going through the journey of these actors with them. It's and the purpose of music in theater is because the emotion is so heightened. You got to sing about it. So you can imagine there's a lot of heightened emotion in Path to Catherine. It's because of that, because it's of it being so much music. But I mean, that's the thing. You're just following along with the emotional journey of these characters. So much more than it's so much more visceral because you're watching a live journey that somebody is going through as opposed to seeing it just on a screen. I knew of Patricia Zehentmayr. I've seen some of her shows. She and I had never met, but I knew of her. And I had just signed on, believe it or not, to writing another show. This was in like August of 2019. And she, within weeks, she happened to contact me, and I just signed on to start this other show. But I was so fascinated by the concept of it being a 3-woman show that was, and only 3 women, and just the storyline itself. She sent me an outline. And she sent me a kind of a fleshed out first draft of a script, nothing written in lyric form yet. Because we hadn't even, we hadn't landed on the idea of turning it into a sung through musical. Anyway, I was just so fascinated by the story, and she'd done so much in-depth research already. So I was the one who came on board with the idea already fleshed out by Patricia. So I signed on and then went on to be writing 2 shows simultaneously. And I thought I was going to die. It was like so much work between that and just doing my own life of like music directing and teaching. I teach at AMDA, et cetera, et cetera. But COVID hit, and COVID was for me kind of a hidden blessing because it slowed my life down. A lot of things obviously stopped, and I was able to get both of these shows written simultaneously and get them done by the end of the year of 2020. Yeah, COVID was kind of a hidden blessing for me because that's how I was able to finish. The story arc of Path to Catherine it's 3 different stories that are all happening between the 3 girls. There's 3 women in this show. There is young Sophie, who is an obscure German princess. She's only about 14, 15 years old and living out in kind of Hicksville, somewhere in Germany, with her kind of lower ranked prince father, her father, and her mother, who's very dissatisfied that she married somebody lower in rank, much older than her, never really been in love with him, didn't even have, the honor of having a son first. She had this young girl, Sophie. Joanna, the mother, was always just disappointed with her own life, and definitely put that disappointment on Sophie all the time. But then over in Russia, there's the Empress Elizabeth, who found herself she ascended to the throne after her father, never got married, was childless, and was desperate to get an heir to the throne in place so that her own life could be spared, because she was really in her life was in danger all the time, because she did not have an heir to the throne kind of set up. So she had a nephew whom she had never met before, but her sister lived in Germany as well. And anyway, she summoned the nephew, Peter, to come to Russia. And basically she just, announced he's going to be the heir to my throne. And then she realized what an awful kid he was. I mean, in so many ways, just poor judgment in every possible way. And she could see that he was going to be a terrible emperor. So it was very important that she find a good, solid wife for him that would hopefully help to steer, what would come after her. So she knew of Sophie, she knew of Joanna, because a man that she long ago loved and almost married until he died suddenly. This was like when she was 18. That was Joanna's brother. So she didn't know Joanna, but she knew of her. Anyway, and she knew that she had a daughter. So she summons young Sophie and her mother to Russia. And that's kind of how the show begins. And so we watch the machinations of these three women figuring out, Elizabeth's trying to figure out if Sophie's got the stock, to be a wife to her beleaguered nephew. Joanna, who, by the way, also agreed to spy on, this is like another side story, to spy on Elizabeth on behalf of the German King Frederick, who is really an arch enemy to Elizabeth. So she's got her own thing going on. And then young Sophie, who's just hoping that she's going to fall in love with this guy. And really at 14, that's all she wanted. She just wanted to fall in love, and she wanted him to love her, and everything would be this storybook life. And she realizes right away, this guy's awful. And so she's really struggling with that. So her journey is giving up. What she wants him to love her, and she's realizing that's probably never going to happen. And does she want to become the wife of someone who's never going to love her, just so that she'd be close to power and have more influence in her life, but give up on that very important dream she started off with? So for Sophie, it's giving up on a dream to track a brand new life in what she thought she would have. For Elizabeth, she's trying to create a potential new family that she's always wanted a family. She's starting to really have maternal feelings for Sophie. She doesn't know what to do with Joanna, who's just such a annoying stage mom kind of a woman. So Elizabeth's trying to figure that out, and then Joanna is just trying to have it all too. She's trying to get all the information she needs behind the scenes to give to the king, writing letters surreptitiously and sending them off, behind Elizabeth's back, giving him information about what's going on in the court, and just trying to keep things moving forward, that Sophie's going to be the chosen duchess for this young Peter. Anyway, it all goes fully awry at the end. And I don't know if I should tell you the ending, but it doesn't go well for Joanna. I'll just say that. So yeah, I love these many musicals that have music that goes against type of the actual show itself, like Spring Awakening. It's always been one of my favorite shows. I love, the uptight world of, turn of the 20th century, 1900-ish, uptight Germany, and these kids singing just all this rebellious rock and roll stuff. I loved Jesus Christ Superstar and all the rock and roll influence in that sung through show. Obviously Hamilton, I studied that show so much too. So all of those shows, I would say those are the three shows stylistically that probably informed me and influenced me the most. As I spoke before, that we just thought this show would be, because of it just being scene after scene of just these three women. It was a challenge to think, how do we keep it spicy with only having three women? And you see that I begged many times to Patricia, let's have at least one guy in this cast, so he could play Peter and he could play King Frederick back in Germany, and the ambassador that Joanna is getting close with to get all the secrets from, and that was my idea. I wanted to, I just felt we needed more people on stage, and Patricia was like, no, we have to keep this. We're going to keep this three women. We're going to tell this story with just these three girls. And we did it. I'm really proud that I'm very happy she didn't, give in to me. I feel like we told the story in an interesting way because of the fact that it's sung through. So everything, and they all have their own little musical themes that keep kind of reoccurring. So all the emotions can be just are expressed by the style of each song. Some of the songs are kind of rappy and really firing back and forth with really tense dialogue. Some are really these sweeping, big, beautiful melodic songs. Everything's a little different. We have this, what we call spy music that we use throughout the show, when Joanna's just, writing her letters, to King Frederick, trying to pacify him, giving him information and all of that. We've got all these different styles of music that kind of feed into the emotion of that scene. So the sung through, pass through style of writing for this show really, I think it was really effective and makes this show unique because of that. Because the show is such a small theater, we made the decision to not use drums and bass, in which the score's written for that, but we've chose not to do it that way. We're producing this show with me on keys and a cellist and a guitar player. So it's kind of a little unusual threesome that we have, but it's kind of been the perfect little trio. The cello can play some low stuff and sort of function as the bass player sometimes. It's been fun to write for the cello, to give it where he can play a lot of rhythmic stuff, stuff, so you're still getting some rhythm, but coming out of the cello in an interesting way. But then of course I use him also to play all these beautiful sweeping melodies. And then the guitars I'm using him in every possible way too. Yeah, I mean, he plays, some big rock anthemic melodies, but then he's of course chugging and playing lots of rhythm too. He also plays on acoustic guitar. So it's kind of interesting, right? We've got a lot of different textures for just the three of us. So that's been kind of neat too. And the next iteration that we do, hopefully we'll have even a bigger band, but it's been fun doing it with just these two guys plus me. Our three actors, I'm continually amazed by the heavy lift of this show and how they've succeeded beyond my imagination, of how they've internalized and turned these women into more than I even realized was there on the page. I mean, they really have found every layer that these ladies have to their characters. I guess I'll start with Robin Roth, who I've done a couple of other new works with. So I knew the vocal talent that she in both those shows that I did with her, she was a hilarious comedic actress as well. So I knew she had this comedy funny bone in her, which I thought maybe could work for Joanna, because Joanna is just such a little conniving stage mom. And we were considering using her for Joanna at first. We didn't, though. We casted her as Elizabeth. Robin is Elizabeth, because in her callback, she found a level of authority that just, we could see she could find Elizabeth. Elizabeth's going to be is going to be the character for her. Anyway, I've been so happy with what she has discovered and pulled out. In Elizabeth is kind of like secretly become kind of my favorite character. And I thought, I felt like she was maybe the least developed in the beginning of our writing of the show. Now she's just so complex, and I can't recommend the show enough to watch what Robin brings to it. So Robin's amazing. Okay. Then we have Jessica Reiner Harris, who is playing Joanna. And her vocals are just flawless, this woman, and has been from the minute we started working with her. I can't believe the voice this woman's got. She is just, what a powerhouse, just amazing technique, what she sings like, and she is such a great actress and just makes you, she just brings she brings all the nasty qualities of Joanna, full front, but also in the end, when she's found out and she's on the ground singing her final ballad and realizing what she's done, like I'm telling you, she brings the house down when she sings that final song. It's gorgeous. She's amazing. So Jessica Reiner Harris. And then we have Elise Waters playing Sophie. And this was a hard role for us to cast. You're supposed to believe she's 14, 15 years old. For a second, we were going to try and cast somebody that young. But it's all these roles are so big. We just, we realized we couldn't count on, asking a high schooler to shoulder a role like this. Elise does such a great job in bringing this innocence, who in Sophie in the beginning, and you believe her at the end that she's ready to step into a role of being groomed into becoming an empress. She really makes you believe it. And she's also got this amazing instrument vocally. She is an opera singer. Opera was what she studied for many years, and more into musical theater these days. But she's so she brings like this pureness into her voice that really, really works and fits for Sophie. But she's, over these couple months of working, she's also really found some soul and like a little more, what we say, stank, in her voice, which has been really great and fun to see her grow in that way. Because she came to us as a little bit more of a legit singer, and but we've been working with her, and she's found all of her little R&B licks that she's singing in her, and she sounds great, just sounds great. So all three of these girls, as the music director, I'm telling you, I'm just wildly pleased with the performances that they're bringing to the show. Well, I'll start with Patricia, because we've been working on the show for 2.5 years, and it's been really the finest collaboration. I've had great collaborations over the years, but there's been something really special about what Patricia and I have, how we've done this, and how we've just stuck to this like a dog with a bone, and getting it done, getting, monthly dramaturgical notes from somebody that we worked with that helped us. We just stuck with it, so much. Now, not only did we finished writing the show around 2020 October, but then over the next year and a half, has been my job to create demos of all these songs. And yeah, I mean, that's been a big learning curve. And then of course the music scores, like there's been a lot of work. Once the show's written, it's so much more work for the composer. It's like not done. Now all the heavy lifting lands on me after that. But Patricia's been so patient and supportive as we've been doing that. We casted the show last summer with some other three awesome ladies that we had record the show. Patricia was part of that whole process. We just really have worked very, very well together over these last 2.5 years. Joanna Syiek came to us by recommendation and of someone else that we highly recommend, Elise Dewsbury, who's the artistic director of New Musicals Inc. She said, we were looking for a director. She said, I know the perfect girl, because she and Elise had seen one of our other reading that we did of Path to Catherine. So she knew the kind of style of the show that it was. And she was so right. We reached out to Joanna, and from the get-go, she just seemed to understand what kind of show this was, what the kind of direction it needed. And I've never seen somebody work so hard. I mean, and how prepared she came, immediately created a vision for the show. Like right away, we just felt like we were in good hands. And that's just the most important thing to me, not just as the creator of the show, but then as the music director. I just need to feel like the director like I can get behind her or him, her in our case, and follow them. Like I trust that they know where she's taking this show. And she right away gave us that kind of just security and confidence. And so, and delivered too. I mean, she just, every single minute of every rehearsal, she was a slave driver in such a good way, like just came with this, everything fully staged and worked so fast. I mean, there's 26 songs in this show. It's a lot. This show it's in 90 minutes. It's like a action-packed show. Anyway, she came on board a little late, took us a little while to find her. And because we only had 3 weeks left when she finally came on board. I'd already taught the music to the girls. So anyway, she did magic. She's an amazing director. I want them to walk away, first of all, feeling like they've really got an interesting slice of history, to want to get to know more about Catherine the Great. I hope they'll want to go to the website and listen to some of the songs again. We hope to release our songs on an album soon. I guess I would love this, because the way we wrote this show, like there's all these musical themes that keep recurring and get used as underscoring and just come back in all these different sort of ways. I feel like it's the kind of score you should want to listen to again and again, and get all the nuggets. I feel it's one of those shows that the more you listen to it, the more you get it. Like Hamilton's kind of that way, right? We've all had that experience where every time you listen to Hamilton, there's more you get from it. You catch a little bit more from that song and that song because it's so rapid fire. There's some of that with our Catherine show. And I would hope that it would be satisfying enough for the audience that they would also want to return to it and like get even deeper into it and get even more, understanding why did we use that song to bring back and reprise here or to sing. There's reasons for every musical moment in the show. There's reasons for it. And I hope that people will want to engage in our show enough that they want to like discover all those little gems, because there's a lot of gems that I don't know that in one listening you get it all. I love that kind of discovery about musical theater, when a show is so deeply researched and written that you get more, it just gets more and more clear each time you experience the show. I feel like Catherine's that way too. As the pianist, I'm sort of the engine under the, kind of, I'm the one, I'm conducting the band, and I'm really breathing with and experiencing the story with the girls. I really am. It's like, I feel like I'm really truly breathing with them as they sing, as they perform each song, and feeling the songs along with them. So as I'm doing that, of course, I'm also got one ear towards the audience and just trying to understand, experience how they're, listening to for the audience's reaction. It's a nice intimate theater where we're playing, so I can see the audience. Not that I'm looking at them all that much, but I can, steal some looks and kind of see how it's playing. So, so there is that. I've the next iteration, I'll be ready to use somebody else at the piano and sit in the audience like Patricia's getting to do. There's just been so many little segue moments, and it's, moving from song to song, that I have felt in my, control freak way, that I've had to still sit at the piano and make sure everything is really massaged out and worked through before I was ready to turn it over to another pianist and let him or her, lead the show. I just still needed to be at the piano for one more iteration. So that's what this has been. I really do feel this, and I'm sorry this isn't going to sound like, I don't mean for this to sound like I'm lacking humility, because believe me, I'm like, I understand my place in the world, right, and all that, but I really believe this show is special. And I really do believe this show has legs and is going, and I think you ought to come to see the beginning of a show that I believe is going to be a big show. And how awesome that would be to be able to say, I actually saw the world premiere of this show. We feel really strongly that it's got a place on off-Broadway, and that it's got a place it's easily producible with just 3 women. It's easy to produce. You don't need a lot of sets. The women are on stage for pretty much the whole time, so they're in one costume. It's not expensive to put this show on, but it is really a special experience. I think this 90 minutes takes you on such a journey, and I just don't think anybody should want to miss out while we're in this kind of fun early incubator stage. And it's a good show. It's really a ride. So I can't recommend it enough. Why more voices in the world must be heard in the theater? Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole point of theater, is to not just tell the same old stories all the time. The point of all art is to waken us up, to challenge us, to make us look at things we didn't know existed that way. Or the whole point of art is sometimes to make us feel uncomfortable. But whatever it does, whatever the emotions you feel from from any kind of artistic piece of work that you're watching, experiencing in some way, it should challenge you. It should perhaps cause you to rethink maybe some conventional things you've been maybe kind of going through life in a bit of a sleep, being kind of asleep to certain things. What you learn when you go to see The Path to Catherine, first of all, is that, boy, politics was alive and well always. It's not just like today. It's not like everybody was just living a nice, cultured, let's just drink tea in the afternoon and then go to bed it was for Elizabeth, she was living in every day she was fighting to stay alive. That's how ruthless the world was around her. And I think it's important to understand, you learn, like, boy, back then, it just wasn't just this milquetoast way of living. It was challenging, hard, and there were things women had to fight against that. I mean, many of those battles have been won, thank God. But boy, what women were fighting against back then was there was so much more oppression of women being able to just express themselves the way men were allowed to at that time. So, those are important stories to tell. It helps us, see the arc of where we've come. We pitched our show to John and Tamra. It was back in November, and didn't really know them. We had an opportunity to be able to pitch our show to them, and they, their interest is piqued, and they reached out to us. So we've just been we entered into a relationship with them. At that point, we just started having lots of conversation. They, of course, read our show, listened to the demos. They determined that our type of show was the kind of thing they were looking to produce next. And they offered to us a whole blueprint of what they want to do, starting with this premiere here in LA that has been kind of a workshop. I mean, a production in still in process, because we're still making little tweaks. I wouldn't say the show's frozen yet by any means. We're still working out little things about it. So it's been such a, and so not only that, but the other thing that has been so great about them is that they've also, Tamra's worked really closely with Patricia in working out some moments in the show that still needed some refining. And it's been really valuable work that Tamra's done with Patricia, getting our show just even stronger, getting all the three ladies arcs really clear. John, who lives in New York, the hope is that we're going to take this to New York, and that's certainly when John's going to be even more involved with us. He's been certainly very involved, but it's all been via Zoom and email. He is coming out to see it this month, but Tamra's been a physical person for us here. They have a really interesting suggested path that they want us to, that they are planning to help shepherd our show to get bigger, more visibility. We're really excited to work with them. They've been they're very hands-on with their artists. And we've needed that. We've had to work through all kinds of little things. We've learned a ton. I can't recommend them enough. They're just so personable, available to us every day, very hands-on. Yeah, it's been really a good experience for us. If the theater was just all, how many productions of In the Heights can you see? And, all the shows that are already out there, God bless them all, but we need the theater companies that are willing to get in the trenches and help develop new works. We need new works. We shouldn't, as a theater community, shouldn't be just resting on the laurels of the big shows that make it to Broadway. God bless those shows, but there's all kinds of theater out there. There's smaller, edgier theater that, again, tell stories that need to be told. Companies like Riot Act are willing to get in the trenches, get their hands dirty, aren't in it to expecting to necessarily make tons and tons of money at the front end. They're willing to just work hard and get good quality shows, give them a chance. And it's just so important for keeping the theater world just vital and not stale. Like, how many jukebox musicals do we need in the world? That's a soapbox issue for me. I want to see shows that with original stories and original scores. And, it's fine to do all these, take the movies and turn Mrs. Doubtfire, turn these movies into musicals, but those are safe bets. And thank God we've got these production theater companies that are willing to go out on a limb for original musical theater. And Right Act is one of those. I am Jan Roper, the composer and the music director for The Path to Catherine. This is a 90-minute sung through, fast moving rock musical that's playing at the Brickhouse Theatre in North Hollywood. And I just want to invite everybody to come out. It's a beautiful production. You will walk away just so intrigued with who young Catherine the Great was as a teenager, and what were the incidences that set her on her path to eventually becoming Russia's empress. And I would love to see you there at the theater for Saturday nights at 7, Sundays at 3, and some Fridays, the 15th and the 22nd as well. Please come and see the show. It's challenging and it's beautiful and it's fun all at the same time. See you at the theater.